with 5 seconds. He's going to throw it. Howard leaps. He has it. Touchdown. Carolina back from the dead to tie the game with 2 seconds to go. Snap back, spot down. The kick is cleanly away. It is good.
And it's
with
yes,
a 54-yard field goal. And how about them Tar Heels? They do it.
Here's Kupak. Gives off to Amos. He's got it. He's Unbelievable. Unreal.
Jordan back to kick. It's blocked again. Picked up. It'll be a touchdown, Carolina, for Bracey Walker. He blocks his second punt and scores his second touchdown of the season. It's 14-13. Mr. Jordan beat Mr. Walker. Bernard fields it at the 26. Heading to the far side. Gio at the 35. Gio, he's at the 50. No, he's not. Yes, he is. Gio, he's going to take it for a touchdown. Are you kidding me?
This is the Heel Tough Blog Podcast on Spreaker.com.
Welcome into this edition of the Heel Tough Blog Podcast. I'm Anthony Pagnotta. On this edition of the podcast, we sit down with Charlotte area radio co-host Travis T-Bone Hancock to talk about the impact that former North Carolina Tar Heels defensive end Julius Peppers had in his 17-year NFL career on the gridiron. Come in from the Mac Attack here in Charlotte, my good buddy Travis T-Bone Hancock. How's it going today, T-Bone?
Hey, good. Thanks for having me, man. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing well, man. I'm doing well. I know you're not a guy that is used to talking a lot of Tar Heel football, but we're going to...
Or basketball, really.
There you go. But we're going to center this a little bit early on around, his career at Carolina and then moving on to the NFL. You know, he had an outstanding college career, did Julius Peppers. And then he ends up getting drafted by the Carolina Panthers in the 2002 NFL draft with the number 3 pick. So, number 2 pick, when he was drafted that high, what was the feeling around this area? Because I know you've been in and around Charlotte for a while now. And then, of course, when you were in high school, you were up near the Greensboro area. So just in really the state of North Carolina, what was the thinking around the Panthers taking him that high?
Well, certainly a lot of hype, not only a guy that was starred at North Carolina in 2 sports, but a guy from North Carolina. So we had seen him evolve from a high school phenom to a college football phenom. I wouldn't say a basketball phenom because he was pretty good, right? He wasn't great,
right?
But it was pretty cool that this freakish potential number 1 pick at the draft, or that high, could also play basketball. So there was a ton of excitement, and that was also at a time when there wasn't a lot of excitement for the Panthers whatsoever, right? That was the early 2000s. That was off the George Seifert years. So getting this freak show, I mean that in a good way, to stay home and play for the Panthers was certainly a big deal. But apparently the other day, I don't know if you heard this one or not, John Fox, Steve Smith came out and said John Fox was against drafting Julius Peppers.
Wow. Yeah, I had not heard.
John Fox was on Team Quentin Jammer back then. So there was a disagreement, and thank God Foxy did not win the argument. Can you imagine that argument going on there? My Lord.
Oh my gosh, yeah, that was that would have been a bad day to have a bad day right there.
Can you imagine Foxy's angle where he says, "Hey, this guy's name is Jammer. He plays defensive back." There's got to be something stupid like that along the way.
Oh man, yeah. I mean, Quentin Jammer was a solid player, but he was not the once in a generational talent that Julius Peppers was. And in his first 10 years in Carolina, this guy became one of the best pass rushers in the league. And I think this was where people really started to see just what he could bring to the table. When you look at Julius Peppers, is he a guy that really sort of evolved the position of defensive end over those first 10 years in Carolina?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, how many guys ever have we seen with the size and speed and skill set of Julius Peppers? And sure enough, he still got ripped a bunch because there was this whole thing that people thought he took plays off. So long before we had Cam Haight, or Cam Newton gets ridiculed from just about everything. A lot of people were down on Julius Peppers before he left for Chicago because they felt he took plays off. Never really saw that myself. I thought the guy was phenomenal. I don't think that you can expect a defensive end to get a sack on every play, but his skill level was so high that if he dropped off for one or two plays, people would notice. And that's a credit to how good he was when he was really good, right?
Right.
They would say, why didn't Julius get 2 or 3 sacks today? Now, looking back, it's ridiculous. But yeah, we've never seen you can go through the annals of NFL history, how many guys have had the body and the speed and size that Peppers have had. I mean, it's very few, right?
Right, yeah, no, you're right about that. Yeah, his body style in particular was just a lot different, and you mentioned the basketball background. I think that was one of the biggest things with him was, that turned him into this freak athlete that I thought one of the main things that he taught a lot of defensive ends was, hey, even if you don't get to the quarterback and get a sack, get your hands up because it can create plays that, can change games. I mean, he had plenty of game-changing interceptions as a defensive lineman. I mean, 11 interceptions in his career, and that ranks second all time amongst defensive linemen. So, I mean, that's one of the things that, will always be remembered about him. And I think that everybody kind of, says, look, that's where he's different from every other guy. But when, he ends up leaving and going to Chicago for a 6-year contract, what was the reaction of Panther fans? Was it really anger towards him or anger towards the franchise, or really were they just kind of indifferent saying, hey, we kind of knew this would come at some point?
I think it was sort of indifferent and sort of anti-Peppers because keep in mind, with a guy like Steve Smith, he was all over the radio. We knew Steve Smith. We knew his sound bites. We knew everything that he had going on. We knew his family's name, his family members' names. We didn't know much about Julius Peppers, did we? Peppers wasn't a media darling. He wasn't a guy that you saw a lot of. So if Smitty would have left the way Julius Peppers did, it would have been 100% sadness, people angry at the organization. But with Peppers, because we didn't know him, we just assumed it was all Peppers' fault and a money grab. And I will give Julius Peppers credit for this. Our show changed to the morning show. The Mac Attack WFNZ changed to the morning show in February 2009. When we moved over in February 2009, I immediately tried to get Julius Peppers on the air because he doesn't do a lot. And I went through his agent, and I said, hey, he's got to come on the show. And that was during like a franchise tag year, I think. I don't think that wasn't the year, 2009 wasn't when he left. It was the next year. I worked on Julius Peppers coming on our station for 1 full year. I tried every couple months to see if Peppers would do it. And then finally, the day after the Pro Bowl in February 2010, Peppers came on our show. And I really feel like that interview there, because it went national, it went viral back then, because of it was Peppers talking about his future and basically saying, I'm not coming back. It was a massive deal. And I think people were still trying to figure out if they liked the Mac Attack in the mornings. We were replacing a great show. People were questioning how good we were. And I felt that Peppers interview back then really catapulted us to still be on the air today. I really, truly feel like that showed people, hey, these guys are the real deal. So I always give Julius credit for doing the interview. And he's only been on the station 3 times ever, all through with the Mac Attack.
Yeah, how about that? Yeah, for sure.
The day after he came back, he played with the Bears, and they beat the Panthers. He came on, and then when he returned to Carolina last year, a couple days after he signed. So, you know what? He doesn't talk a whole lot, but when he did, it was important, and he was very important to the Mac Attack and WFNZ when he did speak.
Yeah, so, I mean, he comes back, and, what was the reaction that you guys saw maybe from the people on the phone lines and everything that first day when he came back, especially after that interview?
Talk about the one he came back in 2017?
Yeah, in 2017.
He came back a different guy right away. Not that, look, like I said, we didn't know Peppers, so we didn't know really what kind of person deep down he was. But you could just tell when he came on, people loved having him back. And Peppers stint 1 is so different from Peppers stint 2. We didn't see Peppers stint 1, the community service, the leadership, the man of the year type stuff. It may have been there, don't get me wrong. We just didn't know about what was going on with him all the time. So to see him come back and to show us what kind of man he is off the field, leader on the field. He had a great year, too, his first year back, 11 sacks, whatever he had. But to see him finish up here and basically say goodbye instead too and show us who he was. I thought that was awesome, man. I'm so proud of him. And last week when he puts out that retirement video, for Julius, a man of few words, to go out in his own powerful words was so fitting, wasn't it? A guy doesn't speak a lot,
right,
was so eloquent in how he went out, and I think the world of Julius for that.
So, when you look back on the careers of two Carolina guys that are, in my opinion, got to be two of the top pass rushers of all time. We had a debate on the show last week, and, it's still something that's going on a little bit between me and Josh. He says that, believe it or not, being a Dallas Cowboy fan, he actually says Lawrence Taylor has the better overall career. When I look at Julius Peppers, I think with the longevity, I think with the consistency, and I think also combining what I thought was a little bit more of an illustrious college career, you might give the edge to Julius Peppers. Do you think that there is an argument? Because you are a guy that was, a Giant fan when you were younger and is now here in the city of Charlotte and has been on Charlotte radio for a while now. So, when you look at those two, how do you think those two stack up?
Oh, it's Lawrence Taylor. It's not a knock on Peppers, because I think when you talk about, I'm not saying Peppers isn't a great player, but when you talk about, we do debates on the greatest football players ever on the show. The guys that come up are Jim Brown. Tom Brady now does, of course, because of his resume, but Jim Brown, Tom Brady, Barry Sanders, just for what he was. But there's so many other ones I could name. But the defensive player that comes up all the time is Lawrence Taylor.
Right.
And I just don't, for as great as Peppers was, I can't see us debating in the future Lawrence Taylor, Jim Brown, Tom Brady, Barry Sanders, Joe Montana, and Julius Peppers. I just don't put him into that category. I think that he has the ability to be one of those guys when he was on. But I think that there's another tier defensively where Peppers would fall into. Does that make any sense? I think Lawrence Taylor is so high on the list, and that's not a knock on Peppers. It's almost like LT's at an not unattainable level, but he's at the all-time highest level.
Yeah, no, I think that's definitely a great opinion to have. I mean, Lawrence Taylor's a guy that's been around. He's been in and around football for a while now, even after he's gotten out.
I didn't mean to cut you off. I saw a great story on the Lawrence Taylor. I think it was Lawrence Taylor, A Football Life, was on NFL Network a few months ago.
Right.
And they the first practice with he's a Carolina guy, so it makes sense to talk about it.
Right.
They had Belichick on there, and they were saying the first, I believe it was mini camp or rookie camp or something with Lawrence Taylor's first year. Belichick said, "All right, LT, you're on the third team." All right, and LT goes, "Okay, that's fine. I'm a rookie here, whatever. I'll go here to the third team." Then they pan back to Belichick now talking, and he goes, "He lasted 30 minutes." He was only on the third team for the first 30 minutes of minicamp, and he was on the first team within 30 minutes.
Oh,
so that shows you the kind of player Lawrence Taylor was.
Yeah, no, that's a fantastic story. And yeah, that was, one of the things that, was brought up in the argument a little bit was, can you imagine, actually Josh said, can you imagine if he had played under Belichick in this era? And I was like, well, he actually did play under Belichick. But that is a fantastic story. And look, I don't think there's anything wrong with saying that Lawrence Taylor is the best player possibly to ever play the defensive side of the football. But, from a pure pass rusher standpoint, I think there is a little bit of an argument, but, that's something that, we can definitely talk about further on down the line, probably towards when Julius Peppers gets in to the Hall of Fame, which should be in 2024 for sure. I would be very shocked. I would assume, as would you, if he does not get into the Hall of Fame immediately when he is eligible. So we'll hopefully be seeing Julius in Canton in 2024, and that will be a fantastic presentation. He'll be the, I believe, fourth Tar Heel to go into the Hall of Fame, but I will have to look that up just to make sure. But yeah, Boney, thanks for stopping by, man. I know we're both fighting through illnesses here. This is I saw you tweet out the analogy earlier that it's like the Michael Jordan flu game. I don't think one of his teammates was sick as well, but I think that's what we're doing here. We're both sick, but we're tag teaming to make it work, man. So
look, man, I don't like to be compared to Michael Jordan, although I'm the one that tweeted it out, so I guess I did compare myself to Michael Jordan, but hey, it is what it is.
Yeah, so, guys, you can always listen to the Mac Attack 6 to 10 a.m. on WFNZ right here in Charlotte. You can listen to my guy Bone right here. He does a great job running the board and doing production for the show. If you want to call into the show, you can talk to my guy Preppy. He'll put you on the air with Mac, who is the host of the morning show right here in the Charlotte area.
Be careful with this Josh Marlowe guy. I don't trust him fully still. Just be careful with this guy, all right?
Okay, I've been friends with them for, what is it now? Roughly 11 years, and I still don't trust them. So
check your wallet when Marlowe's around. Just check your wallet, all right?
I will do, man. I will do. And you watch that Preppy fella, too. He's a little strange. So.
He's a horrible human being. So.
All right, Boney. We'll talk to you down the line, man, okay?
All right, man. Thank you very much for having me. Appreciate it.
All right. So that's going to do it for this edition of the Heel Tough Blog Podcast. I want to thank T-Bone for stopping by and remind you that you can listen to him, Mac, and Preppy on the Mac Attack 6 to 10 a.m. on WFNZ in Charlotte or on the radio.com app if you live anywhere else. As always, I'd like to encourage you guys to subscribe to the podcast on Spreaker, iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, iHeartRadio.com, TuneIn.com, or the TuneIn app. Also, check out the blog, which is now on its own website, www.heeltoughblog.com. It will also have the podcast, and you can see all of the Carolina football offers as well as we turn towards the 2020 class. The blog will also have articles up breaking down the 2019 recruiting class. Also, you can check out the signing day thread if you want to go back and relive everything that happened. And there's a few other great things on there. You guys can subscribe to the website by just scrolling to the bottom and hitting subscribe to the newsletter. Thank you guys for listening, and as always, go Tar Heels!